Welcome back to the Sports News Analysis YouTube page, where I'll be previewing every college bowl game in the upcoming bowl season, all 35 games. You'll get previewed right here. Catch me on Twitter at SNewsAnalysis, and as always, subscribe to my YouTube page here, and you'll get all these previews delivered right to your inbox. The famous Idaho Potato Bowl, which this year will pit a team out of the MAC, Toledo, versus a team out of the WAC, Utah State. Toledo comes in with a record of 9-3. Utah State with a record of 10-2. From an injury standpoint, Toledo's star running back David Fluellen and their quarterback Terrence Owens both are expected to play. Both were banged up a little bit in their last game. They've had 4 weeks to recover, and all the reports out of Toledo are that those two will play. So just to give you an update on that right off the bat. As far as these two teams go, Toledo, little background on them first, because I know some of these teams are not teams you may see as much. Toledo plays in the MAC. They played probably the only non-conference team they played of note is Cincinnati, and Cincinnati actually beat them 29-23. They did have an impressive loss, if there's such a thing, to Northern Illinois. Northern Illinois, we know now, is a BCS team, plays in the same conference as Toledo, and they beat Toledo by a touchdown earlier in the season. So just to give you, and Toledo comes in with a better offense than a defense. That's typical lately of teams from the MAC. They come in with a pretty high-powered, I wouldn't say high-powered, but a very good offense coming into this game in the Idaho Potato Bowl here. They're coming off of a bowl loss last year in the Military Bowl to Air Force. So if that's something that you look for when you evaluate games, they are coming off of a bowl loss, a 42-41 loss last year. Utah State comes in with a record of 10-2. Their only 2 losses were at a conference games at Wisconsin and at BYU. They lost both of those. They lost to Wisconsin in the first game of the year at Camp Randall by 2 points. They lost 16-14. And they lost at BYU, another team who has a pretty good defense. They lost by a score of 6-3 at BYU. So you're looking, they ran the table in the WAC, went 6-0. So you're looking at a 10-2 Aggies team who they won their first conference title since the mid-30s. I think they've won 15 of their last 18 games overall as a program. So definitely a pretty good team, a nationally ranked team, as a matter of fact, heading into this game. While their strong suit is definitely their defense, you'll hear all the analysts talking about that because the stats tell them that, and how good the Utah State defense is. They're not by any means impenetrable. They did let up 41 points to Louisiana Tech towards the end of the season. So, but they are a very good defense. Sort of reminds me, and not exactly, but of one of those TCU teams maybe 5-7 years ago where they were kind of coming on the radar, another WAC team, and you were a little bit surprised to see how good the talent was on defense. I think that's what you'll see from Utah State, that man for man. Like, wow, hey, this team has some talent on defense. They're led on offense by quarterback Chucky Keaton. He completes close to 70% of his passes, 67% pass completion percentage. He has 27 touchdowns through the air and has about 500 yards rushing on the season as well. So he's a sophomore, definitely a player worth watching as we go forward here. Maybe in the coming years, a dark horse Heisman candidate is Chucky Keaton. But we'll see. We'll obviously see how that goes in the coming years. But as far as this game goes, I think it's gonna be a classic defense versus offense kind of game. But I think what people are underestimating is that Utah State's offense is definitely better than Toledo's defense, and I think you see that with the odds makers think that too, because they've installed Utah State as 10.5-point favorites here. And remember, Utah State is coming off of a bowl loss last year to Ohio, another MAC team in this same famous Idaho Potato Bowl. So maybe some added motivation for them there as well. But as far as the prediction for this game goes, I like Utah State to win the game outright, but I like Toledo to play hard from the opening gun and to maybe backdoor a cover here. So I like Toledo plus 10.5 in the famous Idaho Potato Bowl. You should get a great effort from both teams. I mean, these are teams that, yes, they were both in bowls last year, but they by no means are perennial bowl teams that are going to take the Idaho Potato Bowl for granted. And this is what I love about college football bowls is these kind of games. Two teams that want to be there, that are into it, and that are going to put a great effort forward. And when you're trying to preview and predict these games, those are the kinds of things you have to look for. And I don't think you have any problem as far as motivation goes in this one. This one's a 4:30 kick, by the way, on Saturday, Saturday the 15th. So 2 days from now. So again, I like Utah State outright, but Toledo plus 10.5 here. Catch all my bowl previews here, and catch me on Twitter at SNewsAnalysis. Thanks, guys.